All right, the odds of an interest rate rise on Melbourne Cup Day might have shortened, but the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, is giving little away in a Senate hearing this morning. Business Editor Ross Greenwood is with me. Ross, she's ruined my tease today. I said we're going to find out. We'll get an insight into what she thinks after this inflation figure, but, well, not quite. The market economists think they don't need a hint anyway.
No, that's true, Tom. It's really interesting here because, if anything, the money markets that are listening to this and watching to this and reacting to it, we'll show it to you very shortly, are basically saying that maybe she's trying to hedge her bets, maybe buy it for a little time. Now, if you go through the market economists, and I'll take you through broadly what's come out since that inflation number came out yesterday, higher than expected at 5.4%. You really have had, if you like, almost a conga line of economists coming out basically saying the Reserve Bank will raise interest rates in November. There's the Commonwealth Bank. It changed its forecast. RBA to hike the cash rate in November. Move on. Another one that changed its forecast is the ANZ. RBA to hike in November. They said the National Australia Bank didn't change its forecast. It had always said there would be a rate rise here. RBA to hike in November with the risk of another. So that's where it's changed, though it says still it believes there'll be just one interest rate. That's Ellen Oster there. Go to Rabobank and effectively increase conviction on our forecast of a 25 basis point rate hike from the RBA in November. Bank of Queensland, we can show you as well, a whole bunch more. The cash rate will rise by a further 0.25 percentage point. Deutsche Bank, I'm trying to give you the sense as to where the market sits right now. CPI makes the case for an RBA rate hike. And finally, HSBC, high enough for another RBA rate hike is likely. Then we go to the money markets themselves because effectively there is a calculation done as to the odds of a rate rise. And what you can see from this, the ASX predictor, is it's basically said there is a 55% chance on the money markets and way in which they're set up right now that interest rates will rise on Melbourne Cup Day. And as I say, if you go back only a week or so ago, the chance of it was only put perhaps 10% or less. So this is the way in which that inflation rate really has changed the market outlook.
All right, so passing the word to the Reserve Bank Governor this morning, did you glean anything in particular?
I, just as I say, just get a sense that maybe she's trying to hose down those expectations that rates will necessarily rise. She's saying they want to look at more information. They want to analyse this information a bit more. Let's just pick up a little bit of what Michelle Bullock has had to say. Just see whether you get this same sense yourself.
I'd say we're still analysing the numbers at the moment. I wouldn't like to say more or less likely. We're still looking at it. It has confirmed what we've been saying all along, as I said, that the persistence is in the services side and the goods side is responding. But I think that's all I'd say at this point.
Maybe. All right, what about this theory, Ross? She wants this to be a shock, so markets are sort of pricing it in. She plays her cards close to her chest and seems to say not necessarily. And then you get what governors sometimes want, people to go, wow, another rate rise on Cup Day.
Yeah, but then, look at what all those economists said. So it's pretty much set up that most people are expecting it to happen. So why wouldn't you just go and deliver it if that's what really the aim is, to try and quell demand? The real problem is this balancing act, to try and hold as many people in jobs as long as you possibly can, while effectively you've got this glide path for the inflation to come down by late 2025. It's whether that inflation number yesterday knocked them off that glide path. And that would be the reason why they would act on Melbourne Cup Day. But I want to show you this. Have a look at what's happened to the stock market since she started talking. So yesterday there was a big fall when that inflation number came out. Have a look to the right-hand side. This market is now starting to fall. And the reason it's starting to fall is, again, I think they're starting to feel and get the sense that maybe there is something coming. So this is all off the back of the comments that Michelle Bullock is making right now inside that Senate hearing. Go a bit further forward and go and have a look at the Aussie dollar, for example. You're going to see the same thing, a little bit of a blip downwards there. Now, the blip downwards maybe makes you think that it's back at 62.9. Yesterday it was sitting at 63.6, 63.7. It's come right off. And again, maybe this is just this tempering of suggestions that there is going to be this necessary rate rise in November. And then I can take you to the 1 year money market rates. on it. You can see here they're up a little this morning, but they had again just come off. The markets broadly say there needs to be a rate rise. That's what you're hearing from the economists, but it's just whether it's going to happen. And you would have heard Jim Chalmers yesterday even talking about this. Jim Chalmers said, well, listen, the markets, they're sometimes, in fact, more often than not, they can be wrong. And so he was giving a bit of a warning in his press conference about that yesterday.
I always like to keep an eye on this. We never hit the 7,000 barrier and sit there comfortably. The market is basically flat, Ross, since October 2007.
Yes,
the ASX
true.
200.
Absolutely. And this is a problem, isn't it?
6,
and that's what happens when you've got a relatively low growth economy. It blips above that, but then all of a sudden something happens and it unwinds and it comes all the way back. But that's always what happens when you've got low growth, low inflation economy. And when right now you haven't actually got a lot of these price rises going to the bottom line of the company. So that's the reason why. And you're right, the real returns from the stock market over that period of time are really negligible. If for some people, probably gone backwards over that time.
Yeah, but for, of course, your annual returns. But other than that, should have bought a bit of land somewhere, as most of the time is the solution in Australia, Ross.
Right? Good stuff.